Welcome to AlphaCars Service Center. Today we have a lot going on in the shop, so it may be a little noisy, but we're focusing on this literally new Mazda CX-5. This vehicle has less than 100 miles on it. It was driven from the showroom to the customer's home, parked there, and then driven from the customer's home to our shop here at AlphaCars because we are about to do a rust preventative treatment. Let's check out the current condition of the Mazda, and I'll make some comments here. Even look at the wheels. This vehicle is literally in brand new condition. So let's take a peek underneath. We've removed a whole lot of the underbody paneling. Usually all of these underbody components here, this is all protected by paneling, including all of this area under the engine. So all that's been removed, and we've started to tape off the areas where we don't want any of this protective treatment. We are using a Waxoyl product. We're gonna be using their cavity wax. So we're gonna be getting inside some of the enclosed areas, like the frame rails here and inside the control arms. But also we're gonna use that same product to do coat the outside of all the areas as well. The Waxoyl cavity wax is actually pretty much the same product as the hardwax, except it's clear. So the hardwax is black and the cavity wax is a clear product, which is what we wanted and what the customer wanted for this vehicle, so they can monitor the condition underneath the protective coating. But just look at how clean everything is. Check out the bolts. We can see from the manufacturer, they have a little bit of a sort of chip guard, rust preventative rubberized coating there, only in certain select areas. I believe a lot of this has to do with the vibrations going through the chassis and sort of the sound deadening, keeping some of the road noise out of the cabin. But also this does an awesome job at protecting the area against rust. So I mean, if the manufacturer put this coating on the whole underbody, their customers wouldn't have to then pay a shop to fully rust-proof the rest of the vehicle. But just taking a look, even look at the suspension components. We're still in the process of masking things off. We will mask off the full wheel well, so there'll be no overspray out there. But I wanted to be able to show you up into the suspension area here. But even look, this vehicle is literally a new vehicle, and look at the rust already starting on these machined surfaces where there's no protection on the metal there. So that's not a big deal, but we will clean that and then make sure to apply the coating there, because this is kind of where it all starts. It's areas like this where this does get bad enough and then it starts bubbling the coated surface around it and kind of spreading. Same thing, a lot of the welded seams on these control arms, that's where a lot of the surface rust will start, and then it just kind of branches off from there and just deteriorates the surrounding vehicle. And let's just take a quick look. If I sneak out of here, these are all of the underbody panels that we have removed. There's quite a lot of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these kind of carpet material ones. There's a handful of plastic ones under there, and then a metal heat shield. So the manufacturer does an awesome job keeping things protected from the factory against road debris and things of that nature. It also helps with the aerodynamics of the car and keeping a nice quiet ride with little road noise when you're driving. But it also will trap things like salt and moisture when it gets up behind there, which then accelerates the, that attacking your vehicle structure. And now we're going one step further on the CX-5. We've removed all of the fender liners, and let's talk about now why this is such an important step. First, taking a look in this passenger side front wheel well, we can see all of the metal structure now that we're able to have unobstructed access to. Normally, all of this is completely covered by that fender liner. So now we can even get to areas that have plugs that then give us access to other enclosed areas, like right here, this enclosed sort of unibody area. And then we're able to spray and fog the product inside of things like the whole rocker panel, the insides of the fenders. You might see commonly on vehicles, they first will start to rust kind of at these bottom points of the fender where things collect like moisture and salt and dirt. Even the fender edge up here is where a lot of times you'll first see rust developing, and that normally starts from the inside out. And pulling the fender liners, pulling these access plugs here, and then inserting the special tools we have, which I'll show you in 1 second, is really the best way and kind of the only way to prevent that from happening. So we do have the sort of foam piece right here, I believe for probably some sort of purpose with sound deadening. And of course we're gonna remove that, and we can see down in here, we can get into the rocker panel, we can get to the inside of the fender sheet metal. And if you look at this joint right here, if I can get the camera to focus for us, there's actually a little bit of road grit already in that joint where the unibody kind of connects to that rocker panel piece right there. And those are both metal pieces. So that thin little area already having some contamination in there, some dirt that will then hold the moisture, and that will start to rust pretty quickly. So imagine a vehicle with a lot more mileage, a lot more years on it than this new CX-5, what that'll do to the metal. And now let's take a look at the special tools we use here. I've got a couple of them to show you. First, I'll show you this one. It is a thin rubber hose, and it's very long, so we can actually, it'll actually reach a little more than halfway through the rocker panel of the vehicle, and it has a special spraying tip on it, if I can get the camera to focus in. So it actually sprays straight out in front of it, and in a 360-degree spray pattern around it, and it aerates the product very nicely. So what that means is it kind of fogs it in there, and it will ensure full coverage, absolute full coverage of the area. So like when we insert this tool behind into the enclosed area, the rocker panel, and we spray it and we slowly pull it through, there'll actually be sort of the product fogged that is coming out of the enclosed area almost like a cloud. So it is pretty cool how all that works. And then let me show you this other special tool we use. And it is this thin 90-degree tip. And this works great to get in areas like this because you can insert the tip and then rotate the tool and then spray it all around and get really full coverage inside the enclosed areas. So those are just some of the special tools we use. We also have a couple different sprayers just for the general application. But that's why it makes this so important. Let me comment on, once again, some of this factory sort of undercoating. Like I said, my best guess is a lot of this is for the comfort inside the vehicle, having to do with the road noise. So I can see that it's sprayed all around the strut here and around the strut mount. So as the strut sort of makes noise and the vehicle goes over bumps, this will help absorb that and it won't be transmitted through the cabin. And that will make for a better, more comfortable ride. Same thing with the sort of undercoating, rubberized coating here around this rear shock. Once again, just keeping those vibrations out of the chassis as much as they can, making it a much more comfortable, quieter ride on the inside. But now looking at the rear fender well here, or wheel well here, we have these nice plugs, quite a few of them, where we can get, like I said, into the rockers, into the quarter panel. And once again, if you look at vehicles on the road that already have rust, a lot of times it's these corners of the quarter panels, it's this edge of the quarter panel, you'll start to see that bubbling rust. And that all starts, once again, because there is really no rust protection inside of this enclosed area. And when the moisture collects in there, it slowly will rust that seam and then work its way out. And now we can prevent that from applying this product, all behind it and inside that enclosed area where we have these access holes. There's even one right there we can see. And there's a few of them on the underbody as well, but that's why we make sure to remove the fender wells, because there are a lot of access points under the fender wells where we can get into these very important areas that not only you may think of an underbody protective treatment to keep the rust from the underbody of the vehicle, but it also helps your vehicle cosmetically stay looking great because it'll prevent that rust on the cosmetic external panels as well. So now, as we will start to finish taping off the vehicle, we still need to remove a few more of these kind of foam pieces in there. Then when we start spraying, we'll get to see sort of how our spray process works and how thorough we are with the application. And now we're taking a look as the technician applies the product. So we like to do a very liberal application, as we can kind of see there. And he's making sure to get the tool and all the little access points, including like the inside of the control arm there. And now he's working in the fender well. Now the technician's working his way down the passenger side of the vehicle. Nice thorough application. And now with that tool, he can get right inside all of those access points and turn it around about 360 degrees, really getting a full spread of the product inside of those unibody frame rails there. And really every access point to any enclosed area, he's gonna do exactly that. And with some of the more sophisticated areas, we're gonna use those longer applicating tools that I showed you earlier, where we can get a farther reach into areas like the rocker panels that don't have as many access points. And now the technician's refilling his tool here. Check out how thick the product is inside of the can. And we saw the difference of how well our tool aerates it, allows us to get a nice even coverage of the product. Of course, the technician missed the bottle a little bit. But we can see how well our tool here, when this is screwed into the bottle, it sucks up the product through this tube, and via how this valve system works with the compressed air, it then fires it through our special wand, and with the special tip on there, it aerates it in a way where we can apply it very evenly, get it in those enclosed areas, and just get a nice, thorough product coverage. And now the technician's gonna feed the applicator tool way into the rocker panel. We can see there, it just fully disappeared. Now the tool is all the way down this rocker panel in the enclosed area. And we can see he's got his hand on the trigger, and it is applying it deep in there. And now he's going into that upper area there. So really quite a cool tool to get in all these enclosed areas that really there's no other way to get to them. And now this product, of course, as I mentioned before, will keep it from having that rust starting in those enclosed areas. This product is designed to displace moisture and just keep the surface from having any corrosion starting due to that moisture and any accelerants like salt. Now we fast forward to the next day, and the application is complete. Let's take a thorough look at it before the technician puts all the paneling back on the car. Let's start underneath. We can see it's a nice thorough application, but look, the engine is fully clean. This core support up here, fully clean. All the areas where you don't want the coating, of course, we've done a very nice job masking those areas off, just like the exhaust here. Even you can see the exhaust hanger right there. Full exhaust system, perfectly clean. There's gonna be no weird smells, or anything of that nature. And we can see some of the thicker areas, but overall it is clear. You just see a little bit of the yellowish hue. And that's what we wanted, because now if any areas start to thin a little bit over time, depending on how the vehicle is used, what conditions it's used in, it'll be easy to see the condition of the metal underneath and easy to see where we need to sort of reapply if that's even needed down the line. We can see it's starting to drip out of the enclosed areas a little bit. That's good, that's what we want. And it has started to sort of cure. This product never fully dries, which is what you want. You want it to kind of stay tacky. So then it will never sort of dry and flake off the surface. Taking a look at the rear suspension here. Nice thorough application. And now we can see it kind of has a matte finish to it, like the control arms here, the springs, the shocks, and all of this. Give it one New England winter, and all of this rear suspension will start to have surface rust, especially the steel subframes in vehicles, those really like to develop rust pretty quick. And now you may be wondering, well, how long does this application last for? Well, let's talk about that for a couple minutes here. That is a great question. We recommend an annual inspection, and the areas that are heavily protected, like let's say in the wheel well here, this will have a full plastic liner in here. It really won't allow the road debris and the splash up from the road in wet conditions to get to it. Those areas are really, it's gonna stick around for a very long time. And the areas that don't have the protection, like let's say the rear control arms, rear suspension, the rear subframe, these areas are the type of areas we want to just inspect once a year and just see how the product is doing, because over time it will slowly start to wear away due to the road conditions, but it also depends on how the vehicle is driven, how often it's driven, what conditions it's driven in. We've had vehicles come back after 5 or 6 years and the product is still on there doing just fine, really offering the ultimate protection against rust, and the surface still looks new. So especially the areas like the unibody areas here that have the protective paneling, it's really gonna stick around there for a very long time, and I wouldn't really ever worry about taking the panels back off to, you know, look under there. So let's circle back on that question, how long does it last? Like I said, there's no straight answer, but those enclosed protected areas, I wouldn't worry about really ever looking at those again. It's gonna stick in there for a very long time. In the exposed areas, just keep an eye on it once a year. Whatever shop you take it to, especially if you take it to us, we will always check it out for you. If the vehicle's already in for like an oil change or other service, when we have it on the lift, we'll take a quick look and say, hey, this area needs a little application, or hey, this area all looks great, you're good to go. So keep that in mind. Now let's take a look inside the wheel wells. The technician did just put the access plugs back where they belong, but once again, you can see nice thorough application. But look, the washer bottle and a lot of the components up there, looks like that might be the ABS pump there. All clean side of the engine here, or front of the engine. You can see, I think that's an AC compressor there. That's all clean as well. Same thing, brake rotors, calipers, places you don't want it, we're not gonna get it on there. And even taking a look kind of deep up into the structure here, nice, thorough, even application. And let's briefly take a look at the other sides now. Really not one little bit of area that we missed. Now, lastly, looking at the rear wheel wells here. We remember seeing him insert the specialty tool into some of these enclosed areas. All this is done very nicely. And we can see here even a lot of these tubes for the filling the gas tank and some of the emissions items that has to do with the fuel vapors. All those are protected now. And here's the sort of last side, all looking very, very nice. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new about this process and really learned why it's so important to have it done on your vehicle when it's new as well, because you're gonna save money. It's gonna save you cost having it done when the vehicle is new, because there's really no prep work of having to remove rust and treat rust. So now is the time to do it when the vehicle is in the like new condition. If you are interested in having a rust preventative treatment done on your vehicle, give us a call at 978-263-9000 or send us an email at service@alphacars.com. You don't even have to be local to us. We have a lot of people ship their vehicles from out of state for us to perform these thorough applications. And we do work with you with whatever your expectation or your budget might be. And of course, we have a few products that we like to choose from. And then depending on how thorough we are and the areas we do apply it, that will depend on sort of the cost of the job. Like I said, we like to work with our customers and figure out the best plan of action for their expectation and budget. But this has been Ian reporting from our Boxborough Service Center. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe so then you don't miss out on the latest motoring content.